Hi everybody, welcome to Meconomist. So today I'm going to share with you the story that kind of explains why I try to be as generous as possible with sharing my cars with other people. And I think there's one sort of formative story that can help explain my philosophy towards that issue. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage from that fateful day, but I do have a bit of a reenactment for you guys. It helps to know that back when I was a kid, I liked to wear hats a lot, so that's why my costume in the reenactment is the way it is. So the story starts back in the early 2000s. I think I was about 10 years old. At the time, my family was living in Germany, and we were doing a little family vacation out in the Schwarzwald, which is the Black Forest in southern Germany. So I'm with my family in our minivan, driving through these mountains on these winding roads with these scenic vistas. Since I was 10 though, I really couldn't appreciate the beauty of where I was yet, so in my boredom, I was probably either playing my Game Boy Advance or reading some magazine, probably a car magazine. Then all of a sudden, we come across a Ferrari 348 Spider parked on the side of the road at kind of one of those scenic outlooks. And my parents pay no attention, they just drive right by, but I totally freak out and I insist that my mom stop the car and let me out.
Oh my God, Mom, stop, there's a Ferrari, stop the car!
So my mom, being the angel that she is, let me get off on the side of the road. She kind of pulled over to the side and I just yanked the door open and ran towards the Ferrari that was about 100 yards behind where we parked. For some reason, I was super worried that the Ferrari would drive away as soon as I got there, so I made my way over there as quickly as I could. When I get to the Ferrari, it's like the first time that I've ever seen such a beautiful, bright red Ferrari in person. So I'm totally freaking out. The owner is there with his girlfriend, and they're a nice couple, probably in their mid to young 30s, and he can tell that I'm totally freaking out over his Ferrari, and so he comes over and I introduce myself and I ask him if he can wait until my mom gets there so that she can take a picture of me. And he's like, well, I've got a camera with me. Why don't you just hop in the driver's seat and I'll take a picture of you driving the Ferrari? And I was like, oh my God, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I have to get in this complete stranger's car, no questions asked. Looking back on it now, it was probably the most terrifying thing my parents have ever seen, as they were kind of following me walking towards the Ferrari, and all of a sudden they see their 10-year-old son get in a stranger's car. But anyways, I had no time to think about that sort of thing. Safety be gone. The owner of the Ferrari whips out this camera, and lo and behold, it's a digital camera. Now you have to understand, this was the early 2000s, so someone having a digital camera was almost as crazy as someone owning a Ferrari. I immediately knew this was the coolest guy I had ever met. So the guy's got his camera out and he tells his girlfriend to sit in the passenger seat next to me so he can kind of pose for this cheeky little photo with me and a hot girl next to me in this convertible Ferrari with the top down. So the guy takes about 3 or 4 pictures of me sitting in his car and I'm just having the time of my life. And by that point, my parents show up and they introduce themselves and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for obliging our son. I'm so sorry, he's such a crazy kid. I'm sure they were apologizing profusely for me just kind of interrupting what was probably just a nice date for this couple. The guy was super gracious though and said it was no problem. And he offered to give me the photos that he just took on his digital camera. I'm guessing my parents assumed that, well, maybe there's a way that he could email them to us, but nope, he just popped out the floppy disk that was in his digital camera. A floppy disk, for those of you kids that don't know what it is kind of a square piece of plastic that has a flexible disk on the inside with like 1 to 2 bytes of memory on it, and you can fit about probably 3 or 4 total digital photos on one disk. I'm exaggerating obviously, but yeah, there's not a lot of memory on a floppy disk. But at the time, it was the coolest, most advanced technology, and I couldn't believe my eyes when this guy took an entire floppy disk out of his camera and handed it to me, knowing that on that disk there were photos of me that I could then copy an infinite number of times to as many different computer screens as I wanted to. The crazy thing is, that's pretty much the only thing that I remember from that entire trip. I don't remember what scenic things we went to see, which I'm sure we did knowing my parents. I don't know what pubs we went to, which I'm sure we did knowing my family. I don't remember anything else from that trip except for that one moment where I saw a Ferrari 348 Spider. I even remember exactly what the model was. And the guy let me sit in it, and it was the first time I'd ever sat in a Ferrari, and he took pictures of it for me, and he was super cool and very generous with his time, and he let me take those photos home. And unfortunately, I don't have those photos with me, but my guess is if I really took a hard look in my parents' basement, I could probably find that floppy disk and manage to get them off. The point of this story is that this really instilled in me a strong desire to try to make other people have a similar experience to what I had. I wanted to be just like that Ferrari owner that let me sit in his car next to his girlfriend and take photos in it, even though I was just a kid and there was really nothing that I could do for him. Chances are he doesn't even remember this incident, but I'm probably going to remember it for the rest of my life. And that's why when it comes to sharing my car, I want to try to let as many people experience the joy, even if it's just a sliver of the joy that I feel in my car, or just a sliver of the joy that I felt in that moment. If there's even a small chance that they can feel a little bit of that, it'll make me feel better, because that's the kind of person that I really aspire to be. I'm not perfect, of course. There's times when I probably could be more generous than others, but that moment is really what I'm shooting for. Also, when I look back on my life so far, I realize that pretty much all of my best experiences in life, my favorite memories, and the things that'll stay with me for the rest of my life are almost entirely because of other people's generosity. Yeah, there's things that I've worked for that I feel proud of, but I would say probably at least half of the most exciting and most enjoyable parts of my life I owe in large part just because of other people's generosity. So basically, I just want to be able to pay that forward. I feel like that one little story serves as a good explanation for why I let my girlfriend and her little sister drive my Porsche even though they were still novices with a manual transmission, why I let my 16-year-old brother drive my Porsche, why I let my mom drive my Porsche for almost a year while she was still looking for a car for herself when she moved back from overseas, and why whenever I get the chance, I'm more than happy to let some kid sit in the passenger seat or sit in the driver's seat and take pictures as much as they want. And in all honesty, it's probably a contributing reason to why I started this channel. I mean, the main goal of this channel is to sort of just spread the joy of cars to as many people as possible. I kind of want to be an evangelist for car enthusiasm, if that makes any sense. Before I started this channel, I had so many things that I wanted to say and share about cars, but not nearly enough interested parties in my life to actually share it all. So in order to avoid the risk of just boring all of my friends and family who don't like cars as much as I do, I started this channel to share my love and hopefully along the way maybe pick up a few other people and get them on board with this whole car enthusiasm thing. So I'm curious, do any of you guys have a formative story that serves to kind of explain your whole car enthusiast philosophy? If you do, make sure you leave a comment below. Let me know what your story is, and hit a like and hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to buy this t-shirt, you can go to redbubble.com. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.